We're live. Rob Multari joins us.
Hello.
Comic book writer extraordinaire, publisher, and dabbling with toy stuff I've been seeing for the last few months. Okay, before we get to the comic, because I got it. Why the toys? Like, what made you go down this path?
So, all right. I guess with the plushie. So I guess for the people out there, so they know what we're talking about. This cute little feller here. So basically, it started off as a pinup in the trade paperback that one of my artists did, and people loved it and thought it was cute. And I always do surveys after every Kickstarter I run, and I was like, hey, what would you like to see? Some people were like plushies, action figures, stuff like that. And people really were like, loving this voodoo doll styled Nightwolf, and that's kind of like where that all like stemmed from. I was like, all right, well let's give it a shot, see what happens, and here we are. We're running this campaign for it, and we're looks like we're almost 75% there.
You're like, oh my god! So Rob Multari, Toy Man. It doesn't feel entirely like a bad thing, honestly.
I mean, you got to diversify.
No, hey, listen, totally. I write books. I do this. I'm taking my show on the road later this year. I mean, I'm kind of like that's. I totally get the whole diversification thing. It's actually part of the reason why I wanted you back here. So, but folks, so as people know, I do review comics on firstcomics.com. And this is a coming review. It's not currently on there yet, but this is okay. I gotta say this straight up. Choosing a cover for this was literally the hardest thing to do. Right?
Yeah, there were a lot of good covers this time.
Oh, geez. Moggs was great. Kaylin's, that's Kaylin Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Like, Kaylin Smith's been on the show before. I have a wrong running gag with her that she won't beat me up if I don't buy her stuff. If I buy her stuff, so right. Literally one of the sweetest people ever, and but also like world-class artists. That's the one I picked, but there was like 5 artists on that one.
The 6, I think.
The 6, yeah.
So there was Mog, there was Kaylin, Megan Alford, Rio Burton, Carlos Herrera, and Carola Borelli.
And everybody knocked it out of the park. It was like I do not have the budget, ladies and gentlemen, because I live in Canada. My money is, well, we both would laugh, but that would be tears in my end. I'm sorry, more so. So I only had to pick one. So I went with Kaylin Smith. I don't regret it, but man, I looked at all those and it was like, holy crap. Like you outdid yourself, man. Like you really did.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah. So I gotta be honest. I told him this off the air. I'd say this to it. So this issue is great. I will not say it's not, but I did like issue 1 a little bit better, and just a little bit. Yeah, right, a little bit. Right. So I guess I should ask this, like, because I got a little bit of an idea what you're doing with Nightwolf, and that feels like your main book, right, in this universe. Snow Paw feels like both an extension of it. I mean, she's definitely her own character, but do you have as long-term a plan with her as you do with Nightwolf, or do you have a very specific tale you want to tell here?
So I do plan on. So originally it was intended to be a 4-part miniseries, just because I didn't know how well it would be received. And I thought, okay, well, I usually collect 4 issues into a trade, and that seems like a good point to end the story arc, right? So this was more like, all right, we're going to do this, and if it's well received, we have 200 years to play with. So we have so that's kind of like why there's that introduction to this new villain in it, because I'm playing the long game with Grimfang. Spoiler, he's not going away anytime soon.
No.
I had to throw in a monkey wrench.
Well, but also, I mean, he's in Nightwolf, so it's like if something happens to him here, it's like what the hell happened?
No, he's not in Nightwolf.
Sorry, wrong. Oh, okay, gotcha. No,
That's
sorry.
his predecessor.
Oh, so there's more
So,
to this than
so
even I
Black
think.
Claw or Grimfang is Black Claw's predecessor. So there is a transition there, but
Ooh, so there's okay, so that so I mean, but again, I think the challenge with Snowpaw is this. She's going to live at least through her stuff. So in one, what I like about your approach with her has been you're not even. I mean, yes, you got adventures and stuff going on around her, but I think the more interesting thing you've done with her is she is. It's a very much a character piece. Like
Mhm.
it's very, very much a character piece, and that's why it's so strong, right? Is you're actually building a character. We kind of have an idea who she is,
Mhm.
but now you're exploring how she got that way. So I
Right,
think
right.
right. So that's the part that I think that really makes it good because when you're doing a story like this, it's not like will she live? I mean that tension can't really be. I mean you can play with it a little bit, but not really. Um, but what you can do is you can say, okay, this is who she was. This is where she started,
Mhm.
and how'd she get from this to who she is in Nightwolf, right?
Right,
So
exactly, and that's with her, being that 200-year gap between, Snowpaw and Nightwolf. There's like a lot of time to love, to hate, to live. There's a lot of life to be lived within that time frame, and a lot of experiences to be had. There's a lot of like, especially when you have longevity, there's a lot of loss. There's a lot of new experiences. There's a lot of history to dive into. And I think that's what's exciting for me is that like for me, like as a history buff too, is that I get to play with history, but yet also write her history along the way.
I also think it's going to be interesting to see because she's not jaded in Nightwolf at all. And the thing is, but she's seen a lot. Like she's seen an absolute, and she definitely has um, holes in her game for sure. I mean, no one knows. We don't completely change from who we are when we start, but at the same time, it's just like I mean, I think I again, she's definitely I've enjoyed I've thoroughly enjoyed her development so far, and like in the fact that again she feels different, she feels older, but there's still part of her that's still very much that kid you see in issue one, and I think that's a testament to the character and maybe to the people working on it. So
Yeah.
it,
And you could kind of see too, like in Nightwolf, like there's like periods where like she kind of like and without giving away too much to the people who haven't read it yet, but there's like, when she runs off, there's a couple times in this in the series where she runs off to try like to kind of get a little bit of revenge on Blackclaw. That that kind of clouds her judgment. But other than that, like for the most part, like she's pretty, you know, well witted and very strong willed as well. And has a very good moral compass.
yeah, well, she's got a good moral compass, but she's not cynical, and that I think that I think is the like my favorite part. It'd be very in. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of like a dirty old woman a little bit to her because I think after a few hundred years, you wouldn't give a shit about that quite as much. But
In the longevity, well, that's just it though. Right now, she's kind of like in the probably if the longevity that I have laid out for these werewolves, there she's probably more in the mothering, wanting to have basically in the nurturing phase of her life. She's not in the old curmudgeon yet. You know what I'm saying? Like she's still.
yeah, but I hope no, I don't know. I don't want her to necessarily be the old curmudgeon, but I could but I think that would be terrible. But I think I would. But I do see her telling the odd like really like terrible joke or dirty joke. Like just again, you know this too. You get old, you give far less of a shit about certain things.
Oh
You
yeah,
just
yeah.
like you're right, right. She's had
Well,
200
she had,
years.
well,
So
you notice in like issue 5 of Nightwolf, she doesn't give a shit about putting him in his place.
oh
Like
God
she.
no, God no. Like no, no, no. Like again, she takes no shit. That's actually what that's the best thing about her in modern. And like you said, I don't think she took much of a shit in early either.
No,
So
no, not at all, not at all. She's
yeah,
definitely
so
cool-headed.
yeah, so but I think the other thing too is I noticed, I'm not going to spoil this too much. This cover may not seem like it has anything to do. If you've seen the other Snowpaw stuff, may not seem like it has much to do with this book. That is a blatant lie. When I actually read the reveal there, I even told him, you have to do this in the modern day at some point, because like that was fun, that was cool, and it opens up so many possibilities. There's got to be an equivalent of that somewhere in Nightwolf. So,
well, it's like I said when we were messaging back and forth about it. There is a modern day equivalent, but not in this 12-issue story arc.
Oh, no.
Next, yeah, that's when he's. Let's just say that Nightwolf has to take a nomadic trip, and he sees some stuff.
I gotta figure my own shit out at this point. So I have a theory what the break's going to be in issue 12. Again, not going to talk about it here because I know some things I shouldn't. But that all said, no, it like straight up so far from everything I've read of yours, this is the best thing I think you've done.
Really?
Straight up.
Even though you like issue 1 better?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, the whole story you're telling, I think there. Okay. This Nightwolf. No, okay. So Nightwolf to me is like a slightly older school comic, and that it's got like great action. You got like a plot A, plot B, plot C, and it feels like if you get a whole story in one issue, right? Mm-hmm. You do good character stuff, but it's more of an action comic, right?
Right.
I'm not saying that this doesn't have action in it, but what I am saying is it's a character piece more than it is a action story. And I think you do character very, very well. And I'm hoping to see some of what you've done here in Nightwolf eventually too, because I think the book, I think it would make your book even better, right? Going into that a little bit more character driven, right? Cut back. Yeah. I might maybe not there, maybe you can't get there yet, but get a little bit more character driven, because I think you create your strength as a writer is your characters are distinct, like more distinct than they don't. You play again the story formulas you use aren't new, but your character stuff, right, is really, really good. And that's your strength as a writer. If I was your editor, I probably would be beating on you to do that a little bit more, because honestly, you're really good at it. Like no hyperbole, you're really good at it. And I think it would add layers to the book you already got, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, so especially within Nightwolf, so again, we've kind of like gotten to like, the initial, like I feel like with Snowpaw, I've condensed like the same kind of story arc, if you will, like the beginning, the kind of like montage training, and like then getting to the meat of the plot, and then getting to the resolution. I think I've condensed that more in this Snowpaw 4-part, whereas like with Nightwolf, it's more of a longer to get to that 12th issue, and even to the 12th issue is like I think instead of 24 pages, it's a 32 page. And so it's an extended edition. So like, I think I took a lot longer storytelling with him, but there is a point where it's because as you notice, like with Nightwolf, there's a lot more characters in that story.
That's yeah.
And it doesn't just it feels more like an X-Men team book in a sense, but like not. Whereas like eventually it gets to the point where it's gonna be more now that he's kind of like gotten through his like training, so to speak. There's going to be a lot more focus on him moving forward, and then like the repercussions of his actions following.
No. Okay, so I'm going to ask you an interesting question. Then I'm going to ask you an interesting one. Nightwolf was your first series. Am I right?
Oh, you're right.
Could you have written Snowpaw the way you've done without doing Nightwolf first?
I don't think I could have, because so the way Snowpaw's story came about was in like 2 different conversations. So there was the first conversation about like, how she, like what happened to her, like with her, because you don't in issue 7, the next one that's coming out, there is a conversation where Rodney is like, because they had a fight previously, if you recall, they had like a little bit of a scuffle, and
Kind of,
kind of,
kind of.
more like more a tension that was kind of
Yeah,
embarrassing.
tension is. I would say tension more than anything else.
Yeah,
Not.
yeah.
I think she was madder at herself than
Right,
she
right.
was at him
But
more
I
than
think
anything.
yeah, and it also like leads back to like to him being like young, and he's still kind of like, like young boys, teenagers tend to like they more think about like what's going on with them, not so much everybody else in a sense. So like he kind of had that realizing moment, like, oh crap, I'm an idiot, kind of a situation. And then like in issue 7, there is a moment where he's like, well, how did it happen to you? And she kind of gives a little bit of that backstory that you will see from like the Snowpaw that you may have seen already. And then there's other moments like, basically the conversation that, how, where she's from, how many years ago that happened already in like, the first couple of issues of Nightwolf. So those conversations is what was the basis for me to be like, okay, well, here's the beginning of the story, here's the middle of the story, and now I just have to fill in, I have to have a story arc ending and then fill in the rest. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of like where, if it wasn't for me setting that up in Nightwolf, I wouldn't have had that already laid out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it also for because like you said, like Nightwolf is something like the kind of like the story plots, if you will, have been done before. Like there's typical tropes that have been done. Whereas like I think that was my what I knew and what I was writing, but also like after I did that 12 issue story arc, working into Snowpaw as my like latest work, I also thought, how can I make this different? How can I make this not like what I've already done? How can I make it like it's not something else that's already been out there?
Hmm.
So it was also, I think like I was like, okay, I have point A, point, let's say C, and then I need like to fill in like, B and D for this 4-page or 4-issue arc. And it was like, okay, I want to do this that hasn't been done before. I want to do this. Like I kind of wanted to be like, okay, I wanted to throw in a little bit of a typical trope, kind of like the whole her being engaged thing. That was obviously that's something that you see a lot, but the way it treated, kind of went a different direction.
I actually liked the fact that she did what most people do, in that they actually. I'm going to spoil a little bit of time spoiler. If you think this is her revolting against her engagement, that actually was the farthest thing from the truth. She actually initially was like, I don't know, but she met him. They
Mhm.
got along.
And that's just it. Like it, there are cases that sometimes I have, like I try to write these characters like they actually would have existed, or like
Yeah.
like uh, or like existent, like things that I've like either experienced, seen, or watched other people. Like I try to make it so that it's as relatable as possible. You know what I mean? And even like, especially with writing a female characters, obviously I can't necessarily. That's not me.
Yeah.
Obviously. But like I have a wife, I have 2 sisters, I have a mother, like I have female friends that I test this stuff on. I'm like, hey, what do you think? Is this something like, am I going the right direction? And when they validate that, I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Based.
no, like it felt real, and also it felt like logical. Again, that's the typical reaction eventually, right? Right? If it's like, I mean, if there's actually anything there, it's like, well, we'll try to make this work.
Right.
That was the
And
thing.
it also makes it harder too when something happens.
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing too. Like, I think that was, again, the typical thing is, no, that free spirit that just desire to be free. It's like, well, she has a bit of that, but she was gonna go along with this because of what she felt was right. Which, okay, again, other things that came in the way to make it so, well, doesn't quite work out the way anyone hopes for. But that's fine, right? And again, I'm being very, very, very careful what I'm saying here, because
Right,
if you
exactly. Yeah,
haven't read
exactly.
it.
It's hard to go into it without like giving it all up.
Well, no, I see. Here's the thing. I've been reviewing comics for a long time, and I got a compliment from Matt Knowles and Steph's like, you do enough. You do enough to let people know what's going on, but you don't give it away. And I give my opinion. exactly. Like I'll tell you like where I think this comes from, and why I like it, why I don't, or why I think could be better. I'm honest about that, but I also can see where you're coming from too with some of the things you're doing. Like again, and folks, like I told him this. The reason why I thought this was slightly worse was because he had to go off. He had to divert from the main story a little bit in a couple spots, and I was like, you had to do it. I understand that you had to do it, but there was a trade-off there for a little bit for that as well, right? So,
Well, that's why I did it at the
um,
beginning and I did it at the end. I didn't want to
yeah,
divert in the middle.
no, I get it. No, again, I understood. I really, really did. It was just was like, nope. It's just like, and like I said, so, and for those people wondering, Snowpaw was for until like the very end my favorite book last year I read. So it was like, and you lost to Liam Sharp. How does that feel, Liam
I
Sharp?
mean, if I was going to lose to anybody, at least somebody with a name.
I mean, how many people else could say like, "God damn, Liam Sharp, how dare you
I
do
know, right?
Starhenge?"
Damn
Right?
you, Liam.
That's right. Damn it.
That's all right. Hey, I forgive him because it's my son. My younger son's name is Liam, so it's all good.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, Liam Sharp, not Liam Multari. Well, Liam Multari, I'm sure is cool. No, like you got a cool. Like I said, I'm hoping to see. Like I said, I'm glad you did that. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna ask the same question, but slightly differently.
Okay.
Are you more confident as a writer now? Because the reason I say that because a lot of writers, when they first tell their first story, think they gotta include everything in there. But like you said, you condense some of her stuff, right, to make more of a character piece. But also, I think it comes to the fact that there's an experience of, okay, what kind of story do I want to tell? The first time you write a story, it's like, I gotta get it out there, and I gotta learn how to do this.
Right.
And because you've been doing this on Kickstarter and you've been playing with it for how many years prior to that? We're just like I don't know, but let's say you've had this in your head for a while, for sure. Then what happens is like you tell that story and you're like, okay, what did I like about how I did it? What do I think I could have done better? Right? And what am I carrying with me with the next story I'm telling? Right? Like I agree. I don't think you could have told Snowpaw without doing Nightwolf. But I think it's more
Right.
than just the character of her coming into the story. I think it's also more the fact that you've got now 7 issues under your belt, not including anything else you've done.
Right.
You've developed, you're more confident in the medium. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, like, along with the condensing is like I know what I can take out that seems like more like fluff. That
Yeah.
like, whereas like this is enough to get the story going. This is enough points. I don't need to like have, the every single moment of every kind of a situation. But yeah, I think like definitely like I said, being this is my most recent piece that I've been working on, being more comfortable with writing, knowing too, like I think another thing was like when I first wrote Nightwolf, um, I think I had a lot of slang in there when I was writing, and working with Carlos helped me to develop my writing into a more specific without using like Americanized slang because he wouldn't understand what I was saying. So I kind of developed more into like a very descriptive and straightforward way of telling a story through like the panels to give to him, and then that helped I think with Mog translating it to her. So it was growing from my Nightwolf experience to like the full script that I give Mog, which makes her job easier. She's told me that time and again, that like she doesn't have to do a lot of the thinking. She just has to read my panel and there it is.
Which is great, right? Which is great because I the worst nightmare, and I've done some comic writing myself. It's like, okay, how does the art? How am I going to like? For me, I look at it this way: how does the artist going to understand what I'm getting across, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, the second thing I asked myself was, what kind of stupid shit can I make them draw, right? Like, literally in that order.
Nice.
I have a comic book short story. I decided to do like a surfing / racing aspect, like i.e., have you ever played? Did you ever play? back in the day, F-Zero?
Yes.
Did you ever play the water level? Where
Yeah.
you race through it? I
Yeah.
decided to recreate that with surfboards and like superpowers. I just
Nice.
wanted. Yeah,
That's
folks.
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, why not? Right? I just like it's like
Well,
what could,
I remember I had a similar inspiration with Wave Race 64. For an
yeah.
idiot, have you ever played that one? Like where,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's pretty. I liked F-Zero a little more, but Rave Race is fun. Rave Race is
yeah,
actually fairly fun. Yeah. So.
yeah. I remember like I think it came out when I was in 8th grade, and I remember spending hours playing them.
Hey, dude, listen, it's cool that a game grabs you like that, man. It really
Right?
is. Yeah. Oh, geez. I gotta debate this. Okay, since you talked about N64 here, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time,
Okay.
GoldenEye. Which one?
Oh God, that's all right.
Because
So story wise and gameplay, I think Ocarina of Time.
yeah,
Whereas like GoldenEye obviously was based off a movie, but multiplayer, like me and my friend, like I remember I was actually, you know what, I played it with my sons the other day and I smoked them because they're like, oh, this controller sucks.
yeah, because
And,
it's the old school. It's like this
yeah,
is what we
exactly.
had,
I'm like,
folks,
here, I'm like, this is how it really was. Yeah.
back in my day.
Like, yeah. But like I was telling them, like I remember when I was like in 8th, 9th grade, like we, going my parents had like a New Year's Eve party. So I brought a couple of my friends over, like they spent the night and we were down in the basement with the small like 24-inch TV, all huddled around with the 4 controllers connected to this thing and playing GoldenEye and Mario Kart 64 on.
Mario Kart 64 is still one of my all-time favorite games. I do all the shortcuts in it too, which is just makes me a bastard. But like it's one of those. Well, because once you figure them out, it's fun. I remember a buddy of mine goes, "Hey, you want to play Mario Kart?" Yeah, sure. Right. Well, we play it however he wants to play. It's like I'm cool. I haven't played it in a few years. I probably he's probably going to kick my butt. So we went to the Star Cup, and the first one you can do that for that shortcut, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was apparently the only one that knew the shortcut. So I felt like well, it's always a good test, right? If you know the shortcut, you know you're good at the game. I even told him, I was like, listen, for the rest, I can ignore all shortcuts. Like, no, just do what you're gonna do. Okay. Right.
They were like watching you to make sure they're like, where's the shortcut at?
Yeah, no, so the first time I saw it, they're like, how did you do that? And it was like, it was part of the game. Once you see it once, you just learn how to do it. First time I did the one of them, I actually fell over the wall. I fell over the wall and landed on the other side. I'm like, wait, can I do that again? Yeah, it was brutally unfair. I used to race with my dad all the time in that game, so it was just one of those. That's an old childhood memory. But yeah, but going back, like, okay, so obviously, so you said 4 issues to Snow Paw for sure. So, yeah, are there going to be more?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's well received enough that like I definitely am moving forward with more.
Yeah. No, I'm asking because again, I do feel there's a finite moment you will want to pick up and move on with it, but it's really good stuff. Like it's like I said, right now as it stands, it's my favorite thing you've written. I don't know if this is going to make it to the end of the year. Now, unless you have an issue 3 come out later this year, which I would be all the way
That's
in
the
for.
plan. That's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the plan is I plan on doing 4 Kickstarters this year, and that's one of them.
Yeah. Night Wolf 7. And on the second half of the year, I'll actually be in the United States. I'll have a P.O. box in the United States, so shipping won't kill me so badly.
Nice. Where are you going to be?
Traveling. So this show is as you can see, you're episode 916. All right. Once I break 1,000, now it may not be right at 1,000. That would be a dream, but it may be like 1,010, 1,020. The show goes on the road. I'm going to be going to Vancouver first. I'm looking at California second. And then or maybe third, I might be doing something. So I interviewed Marissa Mayer back like last year. She's a New York Times bestseller. I might go hang out with her in Washington. right? And then so and then go to California, and then it's going to depend on contracts and other things I got going on with my podcasting and other things. But my goal is I'll do the West Coast probably for the first bit of the summer, and I'll try to head to the East Coast by the fall, winter, right before it snows. Then once we get to the winter time, I'm going to go back to California. One of the advantages of doing this is I can winter wherever I want. I was in Calgary when it was -50 in December. I don't want to do that again.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah, no one does. So, but it's just I'm going to be traveling for a little bit. Like I basically, for me, I've said this in a few other podcasts. I came back to Calgary partially to reconnect with people, take care of some business, and then figure out what I was going to do next. Mm-hmm. Well, the reconnection thing for a lot of the friends I've had has not really worked out very much, right? I'm finally starting to see some more people, but it's funny. I make the decision to leave. Now I'm seeing everybody. Like that's essentially how this works.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah. So, but I mean, what that told me was like, what I'm seeking is I gotta figure out where I fit in this grand scheme of things. I don't know. If it's just about work, I can work anywhere I want. I might as well go on a beach and hit on women half my age if that's the case, right? I mean, might as well, right?
That's the yeah. I mean, why not?
Why not? Hey, exactly, right? Exactly. So that's the thing, right? It's one of those situations where I'm looking for where I want to be next. But also while I'm doing that, okay, I've met people like you. I've met Mog, I've met Mel, I've met I've met Elsa Garza, I've met people like Kaylin Smith. Why not meet these people in person, hang out with them, even just for a little bit, and also do a podcast like that where I'm not just interviewing people, but I'm also traveling to cool places as I'm doing it. Yeah. It seems like a fun idea. I'm going to try it because life's too freaking short. And I'm figuring out the logistics right now. Like I'll be setting up a Patreon. I'm going to be looking at different ways to see if people want to sponsor, help me make a living doing this. I'm contacting travel magazines and other things as well. But the whole idea is by the time I get to the summer, I'm going to do this and we're going to just see where it takes me. Because why not?
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. And if you ever make it this way, Western Pennsylvania.
I promise you. I promise you, I will. I have a promise. There's a horror author named Lucy Leitner. He has told me in Pittsburgh there is a ice cream place under some train tracks. That's really awesome. I am going to interview her there. So when I'm in Pennsylvania, I will contact you. Right? You'll probably see this number you don't recognize on either. This is Josh. I'm in town. Or what are you doing? And I might give you a few weeks notice so we can actually do something really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then depending on what time of year it is, let's say it's like the early fall. I'll be like, if you're a football fan, maybe we do something that way. If you want something else you'd like to do for fun, we'll do something that way. I don't care. Life is short, my friend. Life is short, and it's important to let people know that it's important to take the opportunities to tell people how much you appreciate them, and also let them know that hey, this is it. Like I was scheduling an interview today in Calgary, and they wanted to do it on Zoom. I wanted to do it live,
right? Because
I'm in the same city. But it's also just for another reason too. If I don't see them now, who knows when I'll see them again? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so they're thinking about it. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But that's my crazy plan for the second half of the year. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Am I on something or onto something?
Yeah, no. I honestly, like, you have the ability to do it. Why not do it? I mean, for me, like, I got I had kids and before I had a real job, so I had to settle down quick. But there's a lot of things like that you're talking about that I would have loved to have done. Like I would have loved to travel cross country, just even just like doing odd jobs here and there, and then
yeah.
But no, I'm saying you're right where I would love to be. But don't get me wrong, I love my family, so.
Well, no. It's one of those things like you you met your wife, you fell in love, you had kids, and it's like family comes first. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Like there's nothing honestly wrong with that. One of my favorite guests on the show, he's a writer. He's outright told me many times, my kids come first. Doesn't matter. That's a good way to be, honestly, right? It means, and also, I mean, just because you didn't do that stuff as a young man doesn't mean you don't get to do that stuff later on. Well, your kids will grow up sooner or later, and they're going to be like,
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. My wife and I want to travel. We want to do all kinds of stuff. So, it's again, we want to make sure that the kids are, they're having fun, they're taking care of, they're doing what they need to do. And that's why with me, like, I usually schedule like these things either late after they're in bed or like I try, or like early during the day when I take a lunch break or something. You know what I mean? I try to avoid taking time away from them as much as possible. But when I'm older, sky's the limit.
no, you're like, you guys, go live your life and have a good time because I am. Right, we're going to all these places. Right,
I mean that's what my mom's doing. I mean, my mom is like she's doing the snowbird thing. Her and my aunt, they took off at the beginning of the month. They're down in Florida, but they're doing timeshares all the way through March, working their way up the coast as it gets warmer.
Nice. Why not?
So I'm like that's awesome.
Yeah, why not? No, like I said, I'm working towards. I'm just trying to make my dreams come true, and that's it. Like life is what you make of it, and I've learned this a long time ago. And I think the biggest illusion I realized with most of us is we all think we have all the time in the world, but that's not true. We have now. That's all we're guaranteed. So what do you want to do with it? So that's my master plan for a second. I am going to try to do my first Kickstarter though before I go. So I'm going to be butchering karaoke if I get to a certain follower count. Like I'll be letting people actually vote on the songs I sing. I can't sing worth a lick. I'll actually rehearse it and give it an honest. I'm going to warn you, the songs you pick, I'm going to destroy. Right. But if that's what you want, I'll do it. That's the way it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk current stuff here. So 2 campaigns. I'm assuming Nightwolf 7, Snow Paw 3 are the goals this year.
Yep.
Have you hit your limit for the number of books you're going to do? Like, is this it, or are you going to try to sneak another one in at some point?
So I got right now I have the Plushie going right now. That'll end on the 9th of February. So I plan on launching issue 7 of Nightwolf spring-ish, so probably like March, April. Then that leaves me summer and fall to do 2 more, or at least that's the plan anyway. So I am planning to do a kids board book that kind of goes along with this thing.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so the original creator the pinup artist who made the original voodoo doll, her and I are working together to do a kids board book featuring a backstory for this thing. And so it's kind of like if you take the Snowpaw and Nightwolf and do a Muppet Baby version. Like you kind of take them out of like their normal context and put them into this like kind of like kid element. So
my childhood just flashed before my eyes. I remember Muppet Babies.
Right. Holy crap. That's kind of like where that board book's going is like that for 2 reasons. One, it kind of introduces a young audience to my characters that when they get older, then they have recognition to then enjoy the books when they get into their teens or older.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense, and you get to play with kids stuff.
Exactly, and that's the other thing too. Is my daughter, so I've backed the Seas for Cthulhu books and got the Cthulhu plushies for my daughter, and she loves them. And I'm like, I can't share my books with her just yet. Even though like Snowpaw was inspired to do like a book for girls getting into comics, she's still not at that age. She's 5. So she's still not reading. She's still not into comics.
Little too young for Snowpaw.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so I thought, okay, well, if I do a board book and have this plush, I mean, I've given her this plush to play with, and she loves it. So I mean, I was like, okay, well, let's do something like that. So then that way, something she can enjoy that I'm doing, and she can, say, hey, my daddy did this. I could go to her school and do like a book reading, stuff like that. So
that is if you can get yourself getting into that,
Mhm.
dude, you'll make a killing. Like,
Well, I think that's a good place to start. But going to my daughter's class, having
yeah,
pictures, of me
yeah.
doing it, and then getting like quotes from the teachers, that opens it up to a whole other. That can go to different
Well,
schools.
well, you should be like honestly like what you should do. I hope you have like a storytelling lesson plan because what you because I'm no I'm straight up telling you right. If you go in there and you do some kind of like workshop for kids to create stuff of some
Mhm,
kind, whatever it is, comic books, like basic stories, like you can do that, right? You
mhm.
take that and go one step further, not just show off your cool shit, but
Right, right, right.
actually, hey, would you like to make your own cool stuff? And you show them how to do it. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man, that will carry. If you do a really good job with that, teachers talk like they do. And, it's one of those things where it can lead you to a very, very cool little, like, if nothing else, a psychic where you're encouraging people to chase their own dreams. I think you'd enjoy that.
Oh, I do. I've done that. My son Liam, who I've mentioned, he's into drawing, and I've given him like some of my old books from back in the day to play with, and he takes like his little action figures and he's drawing them and all kinds of stuff like he does. So like, and that's kind of like stuff that like I was showing him what to do and how to do. I even set him up on one of my old computers, like the Clip Art Studio thing, where he can like do stuff on the computer too, and just kind of like play around. So it's like I kind of have that a little bit of that experience with him. Plus, I have panels that I'm doing at cons, like kind of like the how-to stuff. Um, so that's kind of like I could take that and do it, at that level. And I think, like you said, I think it might go very far.
Oh no, it will. You'd have a blast. Teachers would have fun. They're like, oh yes, cool, and heck, even get the teachers involved. They might surprise themselves, right?
Yeah.
Um, but no, dude, it's a smart way to go. Okay, but I gotta ask this. Okay, something secretly tells me that you would be a Todd McFarlane toy guy.
I do have some Todd McFarlane toys, and I would love to see Nightwolf or Snowpaw or any of them in like some sort of like action figure form. The
Yeah.
closest. So I've been working on something. I'll show you.
Okay.
Um, it's not completely flushed out yet, but I do have 3D printed models.
Oh, geez.
So this is a 6-inch figure. I have 7 of the characters modeled. The problem is that 3D printing these things are not cheap.
No,
So
they're
I
not.
can't just go to Kickstarter and sell them, which I would love to do. But like for this guy, like the price quote that I got for him was like $80, like to do
No,
per.
it's not cheap. It's not
Yeah, yeah.
cheap at
So I
all.
was like, well, nobody's gonna pay that much for that. That's insane. Even I was like, I'm not paying that. This was just like my brother-in-law and a friend of mine had like their own like printers, and it took like 11 hours just for him. And like, like I wasn't gonna put them through that torture to try and do like 100, of each character.
No, but that is but I mean, okay, I mean that is one aspect. This also comes down to what you want to do with the toys yourself, though. Too is
Right.
this: you have a proof of concept. Like you do have a
Mhm.
proof of concept,
Yeah, yeah,
even
for
if it
sure.
doesn't look like that in the quite look like that in the final result. You have a proof of concept, so you
Mhm.
could go hypothetically to. I'm mentioning Tom McFarlane. I'm other toy companies as well, and go,
Oh yeah,
hey,
exactly.
listen,
Yeah.
my name is Rob. I got toys. They're wolves. They're like, well, what you doing? Hey, listen. One of the reasons Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got so big, is the toys. We
Oh, no
all
doubt.
know it.
Well, that's just it. All of the 80s and 90s cartoons were basically commercials for the action figures.
Damn
So
right.
and I like, it's funny too because like I still have toy like you don't see them all around my room, but like you can see some of them back behind me. I have like a whole like wall of action figures on both sides like of my computers. And it's because like, I was ingrained in like He-Man, Thundercats, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, like, and then even through the 90s, the X-Men action figures, the Spawn action figures, like the GI Joes, all that stuff. Like that was all ingrained in me as a kid. So like I would love to see this stuff. Whereas like my boys, growing up, yeah, they had some action figures, but it wasn't readily available like the ones like like we had Toys R Us, we had like all these different like small, like they weren't even like big like box stores, but like they were like wall to wall like action figures. Like now you go to Walmart, you're like, well, I mean, might be able to find one here, one there. Like it's very sparse. You can't
No,
get like the whole collection because like the collectors are stealing them all.
well, it's also because like you don't have like one outfit that used to be really good in the United States was KB Toys.
Yes, yes.
They were
That's where I
really
think probably 90% of my X-Men figures came from because they used to
yeah.
do it
I
by
would I would I would I wouldn't be shocked. They were a great toy store,
Mhm.
and then they got bought out, and then basically they got all that when they got bought out. The guy put all his debt into the company and then put them down,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Which is a shame.
yep.
But they were great. Like they were great for that. They were a cool toy place. We still have Toys R Us up in Canada.
Which I'm so jealous about because I heard that and I'm like, oh. So
Yes.
like, because like Toys R Us was like, that was one of the places I loved to take my boys when they were really like,
Oh
little.
yeah.
And like, because for me, we'd go like that's when like Nickelodeon started putting out the Ninja Turtles. So like, I got to kind of relive my childhood with them when they were
Yeah.
getting their Ninja Turtles. You know what I mean? So I'm like, playing with
I,
them.
I'm still living with my childhood because I still collect Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a comics. Like, I mean, that's what I don't know if you saw it this week. I went to the comic shop this week to check out. I was just basically I look and I shouldn't have looked. I did look. I looked. I saw Darkwing Duck #1. I was like, okay, I'm in. I just don't give a shit. And then I looked to the right, and I'm like, they have a gargoyles. So my inner 10-year-old went yes. Then to the right, my inner 12-year-old went yes. And it
Yeah,
was like.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, and I went to, and I should know, but I knew it. I was just stuck. I went to my buddy at the comic shop. So do you have issue 1 of Gargoyles? Do I? I'm like, right, right. It's like, right, and that's the thing, right? You just there are things about your look. I can't say that everybody thinks their childhood is the best childhood, but we had some cool freaking cartoons back when we were
We did.
growing up.
We had some cool stuff, and even
Yeah.
today, like I sound like that old man. I'm like our stuff was better.
No, but I'm not gonna say like there's stuff today that is good.
There
I
is,
do
yeah.
appreciate
Don't get
like
me wrong.
everything
Yeah,
has an
I'll sit
era.
there. Yeah, yeah. And
Everything
I
has
will like I will watch that my boys stuff with them. Like even now, like I've started watching Demon Slayer, and and because like now kids are like all into like the anime stuff, and that was
Mhm.
like something. There's like the annoying character parts where they do like the really goofy stuff, but like in general, there is like an actual intense like storyline that like really has got me hooked to it. Even though like there's like that kind of like chalkboard screech moments.
So okay, so my anime series, it's done now. Like it's been done for like a couple years now. Is Fairy Tale.
I don't know if I ever heard of that one.
Okay, so it's a battle anime, i.e., Dragon Ball Z, but better. It's
Okay.
better.
Okay.
Right, right. The story is very formulaic. Ultimately, it's
Mhm.
just similar. It's same for super bad wizard comes into town, kicks everybody's butt. Eventually, the team gets together and wins. That's the
Right.
story.
Yeah.
But the character arcs for all the characters
Mhm.
are amazing. Like
Right.
they're just so well done
Mhm.
that you're like, I'm in. Like I'm just in, and I hate myself a little bit because even I know some of that corny stuff. It's like I hate myself just a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
but again, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can if a story is well told, it can be phenomenal. One of my favorite cartoons that was a little past my time that I'm appreciating now a little bit now. Did you ever watch Samurai Jack?
I caught so that was like right as I was getting into my teens and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
stopping. So
yeah.
I only caught like very few episodes of it.
That series is brilliant. That series is legitimately brilliant. Uh so he goes into the future. Like he meets Aku in the future, and he's trying to get home, and their relationship as a hero villain is interesting. My favorite example of this is there's one episode where Aku goes, "Let's just settle it. Screw it. I'll tell you what. You put your sword down. I'll fight you hand to hand. We're just gonna have a winner." And Samurai Jack said, "Okay, under 3 conditions." And they agreed to the 3 conditions. And meet me over here. And there's this moment of Jack doesn't know where it is. So Aku's like, I'll give you a ride there. Like, like that's just the relationships. Like, I'll figure it out. You sure? I got, like, honestly, no problem. It's just one of those. They were an odd respect for each other.
Yeah.
Right. and Aku is oddly hilarious, but also terrifying as a villain. Like, the balance is incredible, right? There's a YouTube scene where he orders an assassin, and it's like ordering a pizza, and it's just like he's even put on hold. So the evil world is actually put on hold. It's just like, this is surreal. This is surreal.
That's hilarious.
But it's good, right? It's super good, right? So there's good stuff in every era, but there's also like stuff that keeps coming back. Like, Darkwing Duck as a comic is coming back. Gargoyles is coming back. Why? Because they were cool. Well, mostly cool, at least, right?
How many times was, like, He-Man redone? How many times was the Ninja Turtles redone? How many times was Transformers redone? Even Thundercats was redone several times. Not well.
But no, unfortunately not. No, but I think, okay, so He-Man wise, my favorite He-Man relaunch was the science fiction version.
The one from the early 2000s?
Yeah. I actually thought it was just a little. The only thing is, it was maybe a little ahead of its time. I actually thought it was
so too. Yeah, and I think what I liked about it is that they took the characters and they developed them. They developed the story. It wasn't just the same old. You don't really get a lot of backstory in the original series. Like, you got some, like, later on, but, like, in general, it was like the same formula over and over and over again.
Oh, absolutely.
Episodes. Whereas, like, this actually had character development. It had, I liked it. I even liked the way they did the figures. I have some of them back there on the shelf. You probably can't see from here, but those I have the teal, I have the Merman, I have Skeletor, I have He-Man, and crap, for the life of me, I can't remember the guy with.
No, so okay, I will say this from a toys perspective. Castle Grayskull was the coolest. Always has been. I interviewed a toy guy up here. He actually has a Castle Grayskull. That's just like
the original, or
yeah.
I only have the shell left.
Yeah. No, but I mean, he had Castle freaking Grayskull. It's like, okay, that was why He-Man was cool. It wasn't yet the toy absolute best. I'm never crazy about G.I. Joe. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't my thing. But no, He-Man, like Thundercats, right? I was okay with She-Ra.
Yeah, I love the Thunder. Like, I used to have the battle tank. I used to have the the castle where you can move the head, and then the head, of course, broke off. But when you're a rough kid playing with toys, what are you gonna do, right? But one, like, I still have this to this day too. That's in mostly good condition because this thing was solid. Was the old Ghostbusters firehouse. And my kids still play with that thing, and they still beat it up, and they still can't break it. Like, it's so solid. Like, to me, like, that was like one of the best, like, play sets put together.
So in my grandmother's basement, she has the solid steel Tonka stuff.
Ooh,
yeah. That stuff's worth a fortune right now.
Oh my god! I remember taking, like, the big Tonka truck and with the dump and sitting in it and going down hills.
Oh my god! It was sturdy enough to do it too. That's the thing.
At the time, I mean, even though I'm a big dude at the time when I had that thing, I was big enough to sit my butt in that thing and put my feet up on the top and just make and just hold on to, like, you know how like the windows were open. I put
Yeah.
my hand so that the dump didn't dump me. And I rode that thing to, like a snow sled, you know, down this dirt mountain.
Oh my god. Like and folks, I'm not actually worried about the toy. I'm worried about Rob legitimately in this because the toy will survive. Like that like anyone that's seen those old Tonkas, they'll tell you like
Mhm.
those things, they don't break. Like
Oh yeah,
if
no,
you
they
break
don't.
one of those, if you break one of those, that's impressive. Because I want right, it's like they
Well,
don't
let's
break.
just say that like my fingers are a little bent a little bit for reasons.
Oh my god. I can see it. Did you have, by the way, did you have any brothers or sisters with you
I
doing
have two
this?
older sisters. I'm the youngest, and
Oh
I'm
my
the only boy.
god. Did they encourage you? I'm just curious. I'm just
Oh
asking
my
this.
god, yeah, my sister Heather, the oldest, like she was the biggest instigator and always like
Um,
tried to get me and my other sister Hillary to do like some serious stupid shit.
so I no, so this is the picture I have. I have this hill that's a little dangerous, right? Just a little bit, not gonna lie, just maybe a little bit more dangerous than it actually was because I don't know. I see you going up there and I'm seeing your sister going, you can do it. Come on, you
Oh
can do
shit,
it.
she would push me.
That's
This and
fantastic.
like this was during the time. So my parents put an in-ground pool, like when I was like probably like 2 or 3 ish. So this was around that time. Like I mean, I was young to be able to fit in this truck, you know,
Oh
because
yeah,
I've
I
always
know. I that's younger than I had you pictured at, but even so, it's like holy
yeah.
shit.
But yeah, I mean,
Oh,
these are the things I remember because they're so traumatic. But you know, like I remember, like because like dirt mounds were from them digging the in-ground pool.
mhm.
So like, you know, and we this is back in the day when you could go outside and your parents would be like, get out, go play, you know, and they don't even pay attention to what you're doing. You know, like so, you know, of course there's this dirt mound, this hole in the ground. And you know, and when it rains, water's pouring into this thing that hasn't even been cemented yet.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is like wow. Sometimes like we all have this. There are things we did as kids. We're like, how did we live through this? Like how? How the fuck did we live through this shit?
Kids bounce.
Yeah, they do. They do. But
And
sometimes
now,
you
I
just
mean, nowadays they don't think they do, but I mean, you know, I remember, you know, I
oh,
had dirt in
oh
my knees, you know, all kinds of stuff.
oh no no no. This I mean, say what you will, but this I oddly do see a point, a kind of a this might sound like a weird idea, but I do see kind of a turning point in sometime in the next 10 years or so where we are going outside a little bit more and doing stupid shit all over again because life has this like full circle kind of
Mhm.
moment to it.
Yeah.
I do see it. So and then maybe they'll start making like the really cool toys again that were durable and lasted forever because they just see the reason they made these. I had this epiphany before money got involved. The reason the toy companies made them like that was okay. We gotta make something durable enough that no matter how stupid the kid is, they can't break it.
Right. Exactly.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. They
And then
just make.
people, and then kids like my wife would take a transformer, like the diecast ones, and beat her cousin with it.
I will not mess with your wife ever. Jeez.
Believe me, there's a line I try not to cross with her, and you know, like I definitely subscribe to the happy wife, happy life because otherwise, you know, I fear for my life.
That is like people think that's a half truth. No, there's a bit of a wisdom to that. She's sleeping right beside you every night.
Oh yeah,
You should have a healthy respect for the woman there. You really should, because if you don't, you know they might throttle you. And sounds like your wife's the type. How many kids you got?
well, I have two to a previous marriage, and then I have the one with her.
Yeah. So yeah. So
And
you know.
despite like how like feisty my wife is, like there's obviously mutual love, and you know, her and
Oh yeah,
I, you know,
totally.
things work, you know. Whereas like with my ex, it was just a shit show, and it was just not healthy for anybody.
Which is not uncommon either. Just like it.
Well, you know,
I
when you're young and shit happens, you know, then you
yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then hopefully,
try to make things work for the kids, and then it doesn't.
they just didn't. And then you just said, we're going to be happier apart. I mean,
Well, and
I
that's
mean,
just it. My ex and I, we get along perfectly fine now.
yeah.
It's just funny how that works.
Well, just
I
sometimes
don't have to fight with her. I could just be like, bye, click.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like at this point, I mean, the kids are part of your life. So you're
Mhm.
always going to be a part of each other's lives,
Yeah.
but you can just be friends. And sometimes that's where it should end. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
exactly
Exactly.
you're right.
Exactly. Yeah, we've both moved on. The boys go back and forth between the house, and you know,
That's it. And that's
it
it. And
works.
everybody's happy. And then everybody's
Yeah.
happy.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to close off by telling you about my all-time favorite He-Man story. I
Okay.
figure you'll dig this. It's
Okay.
actually in a comic. It's Superman ended up going to He-Man's world.
Okay. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Superman was vulnerable to Skeletor. I thought that was such a cool.
Well, he's vulnerable to magic,
That's
so
right.
yeah, that perfectly makes sense.
It made total sense. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, that and like I don't know if they have a yellow sun technically in Eternia because
that
it's
wasn't as big a deal back in the Silver Age. That wasn't as
right.
he was just super. He was Superman, and Kryptonite, depending on the color, did weird things to him. But
Yeah, yeah,
that has been part of his mythology forever, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Sun thing's relatively, it's newish. It's 30 years old instead of
Yeah, yeah.
60. But yeah,
But
no,
it wasn't used as prevalently as like it has been in other places. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he shows up. He's this big, but he's like Skeletor. I was like, whoa, this guy's tough. And I realized, oh wait, I can affect this guy, and just
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of my favorite, like both He-Man and Superman stories. Actually, it's like, yeah, back in the day, like back in our day, things were better, or some bullshit like that, right? Some bullshit like that.
And the moral of the story today, kids.
That's right. That's right. We I talk to clouds sometimes to talk back, and Rob, I don't know if he talks to clouds, but he still has a bit of that back in my days. That's what we'll say. That's what we'll say. Before I go, so I wanted you back here. Like I said, this show is going to evolve into something new and different, and you might come back here before it's all said and done because
Yeah.
you've got stuff coming up. But I'll
Right.
just say it here. I wanted you back because hey, you've been one of my favorite guests. I've enjoyed watching your career grow and blossom, and yeah, I want to just publicly here thank you for every time you've been on the show, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And I hope to meet you in person. And good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on, and I've loved get to know you, and I would love to meet you in person. Like that's definitely. I would be insulted if you don't find me when you're in the States.
I know. I can't. I said this to my friends out east. I don't know if it's going to be quite this year. We're going to see how things work
At
out.
some point,
But
yeah. We'll make it work some way.
well, yeah, exactly. When I go east, when I do go out east, it will happen. So, okay, I guess we should do a proper promotion. Do you have the Kickstarter address of where your Kickstarter is?
Yeah, yeah. So the quick link is lonewolfcomics.com/plushie.
Oh, hold on a second here. That's lonewolfcomics.com/plushie.
Yeah, with an
I'm
IE, not a
hoping
Y.
lonewolfcomics.com. Spell that plushie thing again. IE.
Yeah, it's with PLUSHIE.
Give me a word. Did I get it?
Yep.
Hi. Like I said, folks. So right now you can go there and you can definitely check this out. He's doing plushies for Nightwolf and then the Snow Paw bows.
So if we have stretch goals, it's definitely a possibility.
Okay, no, it's fair. I know.
Yeah. Right now, so people have asked me this: why am I doing a separate one for him versus like doing it with issue 7? Well, so one because there's a 300 minimum that I like order, so I have to be able to afford it. it can't be just a stretch goal. You know what I mean? It's got to be its own thing. Also, because it's Nightwolf's 5th anniversary, we're doing connecting covers, a 200 print run of issues 1 through 6 with a connecting cover for each one. It's very limited. It's a collector's item for to celebrate Nightwolf being published for 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So everybody, go check this out. Join in on the celebration of 5 years of Nightwolf. And like I said, more comics are coming this year as well.
This spring you'll be getting number 7. Boom.
Number 7. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. I want to thank Rob for coming on board. I'm just going to do one little thing here before it's all said and done. If you have a project, whether it's a book, Kickstarter, music, plushie, board game, kung fu video, whatever the case may be, I do advertising services with audio, video, words, and pictures. Definitely check that out right there. And that will do it, folks, for this episode of Just Joshing. Stay inspired, keep shining in the dark, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. I'm trying to hit the button.